Welcome back, law-abiding citizens and curious troublemakers alike, to the Tentacles of Cuyahoga County. I'm your host, the infamous X-Cheek, back to unravel some mysteries of justice and injustice. You're tuning in episode 30, where we're diving deeper into the murky waters of law enforcement. As a self-appointed ambassador of good policing and chief saboteur of bad cops, I'm here to shine a light on the shadows of the system. In this milestone episode, we're giving you updates. So buckle up, folks. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a first-time listener, you're in for a welcome to the channel. Remember, the tentacles of justice reach far and wide, and as always, I'm here to make sure they're squeezing in all the right places. This is the week of Monday, October 14th, and we find ourselves in the midst of a holiday identity crisis. What exactly are we celebrating? Well, that depends on who you ask and where you are. So today is, by federal holiday, it's Columbus Day. It's still the official federal holiday name, commemorating Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas. It's observed as a federal holiday across the United States, meaning federal offices and many businesses will be closed. However, an increasing number of communities have opted to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day instead. And this is an alternative holiday which celebrates the Native American populations. And to add to the confusion, if you're north of the border, those Canucks, you'll be celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving on this same day. And let's not forget about some of the other observances that are vying for the Tentacle Nation's attention. You have the National Dessert Day, for those with a sweet tooth. That's not me. Be Bald and Be Free Day, a nod to our follically challenged friends. And the National Kick Butt Day, and it's not actually as violent as it sounds. We promise. So, what do we call this holiday anyway? The answer is, it's complicated. It's a day that reflects our evolving understanding of history, culture, and identity. Whether you're commemorating Columbus's voyage, honoring indigenous cultures, giving thanks Canadian style, or just enjoying a day off, one thing's for sure, it's a day worth noting on your calendar. Just remember, whatever you choose to call it, banks will be closed, mail won't be delivered, and you might want to check your local grocery store hours before making a run for that forgotten Thanksgiving turkey or Columbus Day pasta sauce. And speaking of shopping, it seems we've got a viewer out there who loves shopping, and more than a corrupt politician loves offshore bank accounts. You know who you are, our dear bargain hunting, sale stalking, credit card maxing friend. You love shopping more than a rookie cop loves his first pair of handcuffs. A detective loves a cold case that suddenly turns hot. Our infamous ex-chief, me, loves exposed underbelly of Cuyahoga County, and that's saying something. Your shopping habits are so intense, they've got you more tentacles than our show. You've got a tendril in every department store, a sucker on every online marketplace, and you can sniff out a good deal faster than a canine unit on a scent trail. But hey, we're not here to judge. In fact, we admire your dedication. After all, you're stimulating the economy more effectively than any government stimulus package. Just remember, if your shopping sprees ever land you in hot water, you know who to call. We've got experience with dealing all sorts of sticky situations here at the Tentacles of Cuyahoga County. So keep on shopping, you magnificent bargain hunter. And if you ever need an alibi for that suspicious-looking credit card statement, just tell them you were busy listening to our show. We've got your back, as long as you remember to hit like, subscribe, and maybe buy us a cup of coffee or two. So this leads us into the housekeeping section of the episode. Got something on your mind? Don't be shy. You can drop us a line at thetentaclesofcuyahogacounty@gmail.com. Prefer a more discreet approach? Hit me up via Signal using the QR code opposite. I'm going to put it opposite of the flag here on the screen, or the link below. Your thoughts are the lifeblood of this show, so let's hear them. All right, folks, let's talk about greasing the wheels of justice, and by justice, I mean this show. If you've been enjoying our deep dives into the murky waters of Cuyahoga County, consider buying this X-Cheap a cup of coffee, or better yet, a whole pot. After all, exposing corruption and untangling bureaucratic nonsense is thirsty work. I am the self-appointed ambassador of good policing and chief saboteur of bad cops. I'm here to keep you informed and entertained. So listen up, justice junkies and truth seekers. We're not just confined to the murky depths of YouTube. Oh no, our tentacles have reached far and wide across the digital ocean. You can now catch the Tentacles of Cuyahoga County on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Rumble. That's right, we've infiltrated more platforms than a seasoned undercover cop at a biker rally. Whether you're an Apple aficionado, a Spotify streamer, or a Rumble rebel, we've got you covered. Now you can get your fix of corruption busting, truth telling, and law enforcement lampoonery wherever you prefer to consume your content. So whether you're stuck in traffic, hitting the gym, or just hiding from your responsibilities, you can tune in and join to this ex-chief on this wild ride through the underbelly. Remember, the more places you follow us, the harder it is for them to shut us down. Spread the word, spread the tentacles, and let's keep justice squirm. All right, don't be a stranger, all right? Law-abiding listeners and mischief makers, you know the drill. Don't just sit there like a rookie on his first stakeout. Take action. Smash that like button harder than a SWAT team breaching a door. It's the easiest way to show your support, and unlike some of the characters we investigate, it's completely legal. And if you haven't already hit subscribe faster than a corrupt official shredding evidence, by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode of our justice-seeking shenanigans. Plus, it'll boost our number, making us harder to ignore than a siren in the dead of night. Remember, every like and subscribe is another tendril in our ever-growing network of truth seekers. Together, we'll keep the powers that be on their toes and the spotlight firmly on the underbelly of law enforcement. So go on, hit those buttons. It's your civic duty to stay informed, and let's face it, it's a lot more fun than jury duty. Keep those tentacles spreading. Well, folks, it looks like our very own Doug Miller, the infamous use of force instructor who's graced our show with his wisdom and wit, has landed himself a shiny new gig as chief of police of Apple Creek PD. And wouldn't you know it, he's on the hunt for some fresh faces to join his ranks. Now, before you start polishing your handcuffs and practicing your stern "I'm not mad, I'm just a disappointed" face, let's break down this golden opportunity. Our good friend Chief Miller is offering a whopping $22 per hour for part-time gigs. Free training, and there's no word on whether that includes Doug's patented how to tackle a perp while eating a donut course. A uniform allowance, because looking sharp while serving justice is half the battle. Great leadership straight from the Doug Miller School of Law Enforcement Excellence. But wait, there's more. He's looking for 10 part-timers. That's right, you could be living the dream in Apple Creek, keeping the peace and probably chasing down the occasional runaway apple cart. If you're itching to join Chief Miller's merry band of law enforcers, swing by on October 15th or 16th between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Can't make it? No worries. You can email the chief himself at policechief@apple-creek.org. Just don't send any Apple puns in the application. He's probably heard them all by now at this point. So if you got a hankering for justice and a tolerance for fruit-based town names, why not give it a shot? Who knows? You might end up as a reoccurring character on our show. Just remember, if Chief Miller asks where you heard about the job, you didn't hear it from me. As far as you know, a little birdie told you, or maybe it was an apple worm. Stay vigilant, Tentacle Nation. All right, Tentacle Nation, we've got some juicy news hot off the press. Our latest episode won't be hitting the airwaves until October 16th, but don't fret. Chief Doug Miller has promised to extend the recruitment window just for you. That's right, he's giving you extra time to wrangle those applications and dive into the world of law enforcement in Apple Creek. Consider this your exclusive Tentacle advantage. While our show may be fashionably late, your opportunity to join Chief Miller's team is right on time. So whether you're a last-minute Larry or just need a little nudge from the favorite show, you've got the extra time to make your move. So contrary to not mentioning, as stated before, if anyone asks how you got this inside scoop, just tell them it came straight from the tentacles themselves. We are all about opening doors, and maybe a few can of worms from our loyal listeners. Good luck, and may the tentacles be ever in your favor. All right, folks, so let's get back into the latest news coming out. Obviously, last week, Brandon King, mayor of East Cleveland, was indicted. Gotten a million messages relative to this. And I'll be honest, while initially I was elated to hear the news, then I started thinking about the timing and everything that transpired relative to this indictment. And the indictment itself, which I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, honestly. But the indictment itself seems pretty weak. The accusations seem pretty weak. It's also very interesting that this indictment came out in midstream of the trial for Officer Ian McGinnis, who, in most legal opinions, the state is losing this trial. And all of a sudden, in mid-trial, they come out with this indictment for East Cleveland. Their mantra, their entire story that they've been telling this jury up to this point is that East Cleveland is the most corrupt city. The police department is extremely corrupt. They're brutal. They have witnesses on there talking about that they flee East Cleveland in fear of their lives to go to Cleveland, which is much safer, which is ludicrous. They go to Cleveland because Cleveland won't do anything. They're not allowed to do anything. I'm just going to say that, I've repeated multiple times that there were officers that were sent down years prior to all of these indictments coming out. You have very shallow use of force indictments that they overcharged every one of those officers. And I implore everybody that's listening to this, if you don't believe me, stop and do the research yourself. Look at the dockets. That's all it takes. Go and look at the dockets. Every one of the officers that were indicted have been overcharged. They've been offered pleas. When they refuse those pleas, they go back and re-indict the officers on even additional charges. So O'Malley basically has indicted these officers, overcharges them, attempts to force to make them take pleas. They don't take pleas. They re-indict, add more additional charges, which were already overcharged to begin with. He releases to the media this huge campaign of where they're just showing you the 5-second segment of an incident. They're not telling you any context relative to those videos, but it's horrific. Oh, yeah, everybody, that's what their portrayal is. It's horrific. Can't believe that, any officer would have done this. Is brutal. It's the tentacles that must be rooted out, I believe, was essentially his summation of his speech to the media. So again, just recapping, he purposely delays then all of the officers that I had sent down for charges, and he sits on it for more than a year, then indicts all of the other officers with weak evidence, I should say. Their own state witnesses, again, if you don't believe me, look at the dockets. It's in the motions, folks. Their own state witnesses don't believe that these are use of force issues. It gets a lot of officers to take pleas because there's so many charges, there's so much weight against each individual officer that if they even just get convicted of one thing, that's a bad thing. You could be looking at prison. So they give you 25 charges. And they know that if you get convicted on one of those charges, that you're most likely going to go to prison because of the outcry of the public at this point. So then you're in trial, and you're losing trial. And instead of, what would it have taken to wait an extra week to indict Brandon King? I'm just putting it out here, folks. For all those that feel that I'm just having a conspiracy theorist conversation here, what would it have taken to wait one additional week? Because the jury is already tainted. They've already seen all of these videos that he's put out. What would it have taken for an extra week after McGinnis' trial is concluded to indict Brandon King? If that's what you want to do. I'm telling you, folks, whoever is running for Mike O'Malley is a genius. As a matter of fact, he is an evil genius. Joseph Goebbels would have been appalled and impressed at whoever is coming up and concocting this propaganda that Cuyahoga County is expressing. And I had a good friend to me, again, come up with this analogy that I never thought about. I mentioned it earlier. When you're a hammer, all you see is the nail. So you have all of these law enforcement officers that I hear these comments from. When you're a police officer and the judges are all working on your side and the prosecutors are all working on your side, everything is hunky-dory. But imagine something gets messed up in the rhythm of that thing. Hence, when you're a hammer, all you see is a nail. Because when you're from the outside and you're looking into this situation, you assume that prosecutors and judges are doing their best. And I hope that I've shown clear-cut evidence throughout this that that's not happening. U.S. Supreme Court cases are not being upheld by the judges on these cases, which is astonishing to me. I never saw it. I never saw it on the other side. I never paid attention to this. So that's all I'm going to say on in regards to that. I don't want to take up a lot of the show. I know we had a short show, and I heard comments about that last week. And I want to make sure that we get to our relative content coming up. So a viewer had asked me to look into this arrest out of Elyria Police Department on a party by the name of Christopher Johnson.
Father is accusing a police officer of excessive force. Thanks for joining us for the news at 11. I'm Chris Fry. And this isn't the first time that officer has been accused of something like this. Kelly Kennedy with the video that you'll see on just one station.
On July 21st, Elyria police responded to Melvin Lane for a dispute between neighbors. 24-year-old Chris Johnson was at his aunt's house. Police knocked on the door and said they had a warrant for his arrest.
You got a warrant? I don't, because I just went to court on Friday.
Johnson tried to shut the door on Sergeant Walker. Johnson's fiancée captured what happened next on her cell phone.
Oh my God! What the f***? He has 5 broken bones.
He just slammed the door on me. Now get back!
Were you afraid for your life?
I was 100% afraid for my life because I knew in that moment that I couldn't even fight back.
The video shows Sergeant Walker put his hands around Johnson's throat and his knee on his chest. I also got my hands on Elyria police body camera video, but it appears Walker's camera wasn't on because none of the angles we received were from his point of view. This isn't the first time Sergeant Walker has been accused of excessive force. In September 2021, then Officer Michael Walker was placed on paid administrative leave after this video surfaced online. The arrest happened on the same block, Melvin Lane. Walker was later cleared of all charges in that incident.
I don't think that there should be a cop able to just grab somebody up by their throats. That's definitely breaking protocol.
Johnson spoke at the Elyria City Council meeting.
EPD needs to be held accountable. Something needs to change.
So the warrant in question, a temporary protection order against Johnson filed by his fiancée that he broke when he came over to protect her from a dispute with neighbors over a stray cat. We covered it back in May. The incident ended with Johnson being attacked and stabbed by 3 neighbors. He says police told him they weren't going to charge him for violating the TPO given the circumstances.
The only thing that I know Sergeant Walker has got in trouble for, but not really in trouble for, it was probably a slap on the wrist, was not having his body camera on. But he's still out on patrol now.
Johnson was charged with assaulting a police officer and obstructing official business for this incident. 19 News requested Walker's personnel file. We also asked police if they had opened up an investigation. Well, the chief got back to me saying the officer's behavior was consistent with their policies and procedures. Reporting in Elyria, I'm Kelly Kennedy, 19 News.
So I public records request the report and the body camera footage from this incident. The main allegation is coming from an officer, Michael Walker. I believe he's actually a sergeant with the Elyria Police Department. He's got some use of forces that keeps coming up in the news. There was one in September of 2021 that came up in the news where a video circulated on social media showing Walker putting his hand around a man's throat, snapping his head to the side during an arrest. So in that case, the altercation occurred when Officer Walker was attempting to arrest the man. His name was White. During the struggle, Walker reportedly put one hand on White's neck and the other on his head. Video footage showed Walker hitting the suspect's head on the cement during the arrest attempt. So now we're going to get into this Christopher Johnson incident. We're going to go through, and again, I'm going to do my best to be a sideline ref just to point out certain things. I'm going to leave the opinions of whether or not the use of force was justified up to my viewers. I'm going to try to give you some guidelines, and I don't know, maybe I'll give my summation at the end. But I want everybody to essentially see for themselves this incident and make the determination that they want to make. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to, I asked for the radio traffic, so you're going to hear the initial call. And I haven't done as promised, I like those YouTubers that do the music selections, on the fly. They listen to it first response, I think, or first time that they're hearing the songs, whatever it is. That's what I attempt to do here, all right? So I haven't gone into this incident very much, just basically enough for me to figure out which file is what file. So we're going to listen to the radio traffic. This is going to contain the original call for service, because it was a call for service relative to this call. And you'll hear the radio traffic throughout. They've, when they sent it to me, they basically just took each piece and this is over a period of time, and they edited it so that all of this radio traffic that you'll be listening to is relative to this incident. So let's get into it.
21st, 2024, 14 hours, 5 minutes, 41 seconds.
264-256.
256 is Gateway in Woodford. 264 Gateway in School.
1054 Melvin, speak with Della Woody. Said Christopher Johnson and child's mother are outside the residence trying to fight her 16-year-old. Be advised, there's an officer safety for Christopher Johnson, not police friendly. Said that he hates police.
256, copy. 329 is going to go to there as well.
Copy.
267 is out at UH.
Units en route to Melvin. Be advised, I'm showing a 15.
So just so everybody understands, a 15, I believe that's the Buckeye Sheriff's Association codes and signals. Of 15 means a warrant. So there's a warrant, is what the dispatch is advising the officer.
329-377, could you give the caller a call back and see if she can specify what kind of vehicle he's in, just in case he leaves prior to our arrival?
Copy, and be advised it's going to be for a Christopher Johnson at 15.
144 DN. We'll be out at Melvin.
Copy. 329.
Go ahead.
No vehicle is going to be located next door. 1056.
329-377.
Go ahead.
What's that warrant for?
Violation of a court order.
Copy. 329-377. Get light carrying around. 377. One in custody.
Copy, one in custody.
I'm sick. Oh, see, yo.
329 checkup. All 377 units, 1054 Melvin Lane.
We're good. That was an accident. He's in custody after a little bit of a issue.
Copy. All 377 units disregard.
Okay, again, it probably sounds a little weird because it was compressed. Again, that, was over the course of 40 minutes, I think, or something like that. So again, compressed sounds weird, but that's all the radio traffic, essentially, sequentially, that you just listened to. And so let's get into some of the body camera. All right, let's get into this first body camera. I don't think I think that was also one of the other complaints. The sergeant did not have body camera of this incident. I don't know if sergeants are required to wear the body camera, but you're not going to actually see the body or the vantage point from the sergeant. But here is the first body camera.
Della! I'm right here. There's the police right here. Okay. Love you. Hi. Sorry to bother you.
No problem. She look good, don't she, with your orange?
Oh, thanks. So, I was at church. My neighbor called me. She told me that if I did not get home, she was going to slap my 16-year-old daughter. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? First, her daughter called me, and she's like, there's a problem out here. Like, everybody's arguing back and forth. I'm like, okay, well, I immediately came. She stays on the phone with me, and she's telling my daughter to go kill herself, which my daughter previously attempted suicide. She's telling her, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. Chris Johnson.
The evil girl right there?
Yeah.
That bitch, I want to smack the fuck out of that bitch.
You're not helping me.
And I want to smack the fuck out of that
She's next
bitch.
door right here. Chris Johnson, who's not even supposed to be out here, I have him on video yesterday charging after him up on that property.
Yeah, they put the police, they put a fucking gun on me, they put a knife on me.
I have this on video.
Yes, they put a gun on me.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's in the
they
house.
put a gun
He's
on
just
me.
gonna lie and tell
They
you
put
he's
a
not.
knife on me.
First one?
Yes, sir. 10
Yes, they did all that last night.
But he threatened to beat up my daughter too.
Okay.
I'd like to see if I can press him innocent.
Yeah, they didn't want to dog me last night. I was looking last night.
Just hang tight over here. We'll talk to me. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
She just locked me up.
Hello.
Hello.
What's going on with you and the neighbor?
I don't know.
Is there a dog in here? Can we come in
Yeah.
and talk? Is it mean?
No, he's nice, but
Oh,
he's protective.
Where's Chris? Chris or
He went home. He went home.
come here real quick. Let me talk.
So, in case they're asking where this guy Chris is, again, supposedly he has a warrant, so it gives officers a little more ability because there's a warrant, active warrant, to do certain things, but they're alleging that he went home.
Come here real quick. Let me talk.
I don't want to.
Okay, you don't have to go outside. Listen, we know he's in here. We had an officer in an undercover car right across the street the whole time. He did not leave. So you harboring a fugitive, that's a criminal offense. So you need to start that. You don't have to go to jail. So, listen, we know without a doubt that he's alive. So
Christopher!
All right, so this conversation, again, whether or not he's lying or not, he's telling her that officers have been observing her apartment. They know that Christopher's in there. Officers are allowed to lie. And he's basically stating that if he is here, that she could be arrested for harboring a fugitive, which is correct.
where's he at, upstairs? Listen, right now you're obstructing, so.
Yeah, that's what
Come down here, man. No, there's no undercover cop, and you guys are lying. So what am I fugitive for? No, I want to know for what?
You got a warrant. Come here. I don't, because I just went to court on Friday. The common police got a warrant. Arrest me. No.
I got a broken back. Hold me a minute. I ain't doing
Bro,
shit.
he has 5 broken bones.
I got broken bones in my back.
He just slammed the fucking door on me.
No,
Get back.
because I want to know. Because I just went to court on Friday yesterday.
Turn around. Turn around. I need I'm about to see you. Okay. I'm about to have a seizure. Come on.
He has seizures. He has seizures. Go out. He's seizing.
329-377. Get the light carrying around.
All right, so I sort of want to go back, and he goes into a seizure. Apparently, he's supposedly prone to seizures, but he's also prone to fake or feign seizures quite a bit also. But I want to go back. So essentially, the officer sergeant is advising him, hey, you have a warrant. And at this point, had they not opened the door, unless the officers had knowledge that he was actually in there, if they actually did have officers across the street watching the apartment, and they knew that he was in there, and they could articulate that he had not left, and there was a reasonable amount of time since they saw him go in there, then they could technically force their way in to serve the search or the arrest warrant. However, as soon as she opened the door and agreed for a consensual conversation, and then they find out that he's in there, then they have the ability to force their way into the residence to serve that search warrant. Or, I keep saying search warrant, it's the arrest warrant. They have the ability to serve that arrest warrant once they know that the party's in there. He comes down, he attempts to close the door on the officer. The officer continues to forces the door open. Let's go back and watch the very end there.
For what? You got a warrant. Come here. I don't, because I just went to court on Friday. The common police got a warrant. Arrest me. No.
I got a broken back. Hold on a minute. I ain't doing
Bro,
shit.
he has 5 broken bones.
I got broken bones in my back.
He just slammed the fucking door on me.
No,
Get back.
because I want to know. Because
Turn around.
I just went to court on Friday yesterday.
Turn around. Turn around. I need I'm about to Seizure. Okay. I'm about to have a Jones act. Come on.
He has seizures. He has seizures. Go out. He's seizing.
329-377. Get the light carrying around.
All right, so again, in Ohio, you do not have the right or ability to refuse arrest. All right, so it was pretty clear intent. The officer was advising me he had a warrant to step out. He was trying to get him to step out. Subject stating that he just went to court. He shouldn't have a warrant. That's possible, but if it's in the system, the officer has the ability and authority to detain you, to find out what's going on with the warrant. So I want to play it one more time. The original complaint again from 2021 on a different party was him grabbing his throat, and I sort of see that again here. That's the only thing that I would have issue with. Listen, when you're grabbing somebody's throat, I mean it's 2024. Police that are listening out there, all right, it's 2024. You don't grab somebody's throat. You don't put weight on somebody's throat unless absolutely necessary. I mean, it's basically a lethal force option. It's got to be at the point where you would alternatively would shoot someone if you were in that situation. It has to be a lethal force option, grabbing somebody's throat. So let's, and I honestly, I think I want to go back, and I'm going back in my mind, that is, I almost think that they actually sort of taught you during the academy, and this is again when I went to the academy eons ago, about basically, I mean, it's, commonly would be referred to as choking, but I mean, it's basically restricting airflow into the throat because it takes the fight out of people. I honestly want to say that was an accepted thing eons ago, and maybe that's where it came from, but I don't know how old this sergeant is. But anyways, it's pretty commonly known within the last 10, 20 years that you don't put your hands on somebody's throat unless it's a lethal force situation. But let's see what I'm talking about here.
For what? You got a warrant. Come here. I don't, because I just went to court on Friday. The common police got a warrant. Arrest me. No.
And so it's hard for me to see because, again, the sergeant doesn't have his body camera activated, or doesn't have it on. I don't know if he's required to wear it, but it's hard for me from this angle to see the throat grab. It doesn't appear to go on very long, but I mean, maybe he's just trying to grab anything. I don't know. But, all right, so that's the angle from this body camera. Let's look at something else here. All right, folks, let's get into this complaint interview body-worn camera. 30-second delay, apparently.
Johnson.
and then obviously Lieutenant Poole, tell me what's going on.
So on, I believe it was July 21st or 22nd, I got arrested off of Melville Lane. I got arrested by Sergeant Walker. I believe his first name was Michael. He's the bald sergeant. I have video of everything that happened. He didn't have his body camera on of the time of the arrest from when he got out to the car, even when I got out released from the hospital. So the whole incident that he sat there and claimed he was in, I believe, department policy. He was failing for department policies because I believe it's your guys' policy too that every officer that is involved in the call has to have their body-worn camera on at all times.
So I was able to see the video, because I went back and looked at the arrest. I was able to see video footage of the arrest. So when he was talking to the young lady who was at the front door, she called for you to come downstairs. You came downstairs, you started walking, you kind of stopped halfway. He told you had a warrant. You said, no, I didn't. I just went to court. You guys kind of went back and forth with that. He told you to step outside.
I went to go close the door.
You went to close the door, and then he wouldn't let you close the door.
And he stated in that in the charges, I got charged for assault on a peace officer and resisting, that the door closed and slammed on his face and his finger, which in clear as day it didn't close. I have videos of the whole thing of when he grabbed me up by my throat, slammed me on the stairs, put his knee in my throat, his knee in my face, and then grabbed me up multiple other times while I'm, in his eyes, resisting, but I'm not resisting.
Have you been to court on all this yet?
I have. They actually bonded it over to the common pleas, and it's about to be dismissed with the common pleas. But from what even my public defender attorney sitting there telling me, there's a lawsuit right there. She's like, clear as day, there's a lawsuit.
Based off of what?
Based off of how he was grabbing me, based off of him falsifying, saying that I was fighting.
I guess at that point, though, when he told you to come outside and you had a warrant and you wouldn't come out.
A warrant that he never even charged me on. I sat in the county jail in booking for almost a whole day. And all I got charged on by Elyria police was the menacing, obstruction, assault.
Was your warrant through another agency?
It was through the Lorain County Sheriff's Department,
Yeah, so
but they didn't even have it as an active warrant. The warrant that they had, I seen in the computer when I was going to the county jail. It sat there and said wanted person Christopher Dante Johnson. It had my date of birth as before, underneath the wanted person. And they sat there and said, well, date of birth doesn't mean anything. Date of birth does mean something. That's how you identify me.
So when an agency has a warrant out for you, it goes into a system that all law enforcement agencies get. So when they run your name, it comes back as a hit through Lorain County Sheriff's Department as a
I
warrant.
went to court for that, and they sat there and said, well, I went to court that following Friday, and then even had cops to that address where I got arrested the following night before. They ran my name. The courts didn't even find out the warrant, and I guess it was a mix-up because it was a warrant that was issued the day I got arrested from when Lieutenant Frank issued TPO violations and had the U.S. Marshals come into my fiance's house over M1. I mean, that's where this whole ordeal has started because of me on May 27th breaking a TPO, which I broke it because the simple fact of my fiance had people banging on her door over a stray cat. She's now 7 months pregnant, has a 2-year-old there. Put you in my shoes. Would you not break a TPO if the cops come over there and tell her if she's that afraid to leave her house, and then after they leave, people are still banging on the doors, and those same people who banged on the doors, I went over there, stabbed me in my face, broke my cheekbone, broke 4 bones in my back, and I don't get any warrants issued out until a month later. A whole month later for TPO violations, while those same people...
Is that still going through court too?
The
TPO stuff?
Everything's dismissed. All the TPO, the no contact order, everything's dismissed. Those charges that I was charged on in the process of being dismissed. I just look at it as...
I don't know. This video, it's like 30 minutes long. I just basically wanted to listen and see if he acknowledged that there was no confusion of, as far as him, the officer stating that he had a warrant. Basically, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any confusion what the officer was doing or attempting to do when he began resisting And it's very apparent that he was aware of what the officer was doing. He's just basically attempting to argue the legality of whether or not he had the warrant and whether or not the officer had the authority to do that. Again, officer has the authority to do it because it's in the system. They have the ability to detain you until they can figure out whether the warrant has been confirmed or not. So I'm not going to waste much more time on that. Let's... So here is the incident report relative to this incident. So basically just some icing off of my notes here, all right? It's a 7-page report. Essentially, it's summarizing the events that took place on July 21st at 10:54 and 1056 Melvin Lane. And it's around 1:25. So the police were called to 1054 Melvin Lane due to a disturbance involving neighbors at 1056 Melvin Lane. The complainant reported that Christopher Johnson and Stephanie Smith had threatened her juvenile daughter. Officers attempted to serve an active warrant on Johnson at 1056 Melvin Lane. Johnson resisted arrest, slamming a door on Sergeant Walker's hand. A physical struggle ensued, resulting in Johnson being handcuffed. Johnson's experienced what appeared to be multiple seizures during and after the arrest. Life care was called to the scene. Johnson was transported to the UH Elyria for evaluation. Johnson was later arrested at the hospital and transported to the Lorain County Jail. And he was charged with menacing, obstructing official business. Menacing is the threats made to probably the juvenile daughter, obstructing official business, assault on a police, and resisting arrest. Stephanie Smith was also charged with menacing. Apparently she was served a summons, essentially. Wasn't arrested. She was given a summons in lieu of arrest. So officers suspected Johnson might have been faking seizures based on paramedics' observations and previous incident history. The case involved multiple officers and required medical intervention. The incident stemmed from a neighborhood dispute that escalated to threats and police involvement. That was pretty much my summary from the 7 pages that came from this report. The only thing that's left, folks, is there's a report. It's basically authored, I think, from their professional standards or internal affairs, going over the complaints that were made by Christopher and how they responded to it. I know a lot of anti-police crowd will laugh, and they have some valid points in certain circumstances where, they call up police, investigate themselves, and find that they did nothing wrong. And it's not far from the truth in certain circumstances. It just depends on the type of investigation, and that's generally how you can see whether or not an incident was taken seriously or not, was looking at the report, the incident report, the body camera, the internal affairs complaint and report. And so that's what I'm trying to do subjectively here, is go over everything so that everybody can see this complaint. So let's look at the findings report by Internal Affairs. All right, so this is essentially the supervisor's review. I'm not sure if maybe they don't have their own internal affairs department. Maybe the supervisors handled this complaint. Some of the lower level complaints can be handled by supervisors in a lot of circumstances, and maybe that's what's happened here. Just in summary, this was a review of the incident that occurred July 21st. Sergeant Walker responded to a disturbance call but forgot to take his body-worn camera from its docking station. It was alleged that the sergeant had, prior to taking this call, had essentially docked his body camera and was downloading and charging it, which does happen, depending. But generally the batteries last quite some time, so depending on how many calls for service, how many times you're using it, it's possible, but seems like more of an oversight, in my opinion, especially with Axon. The batteries last a pretty good time period with Axon. So, but anyways, at the scene, Sergeant Walker partnered with Officer Perkins to ensure interactions were recorded on Perkins' body camera. Officers attempted to arrest Christopher Johnson on an active warrant. Johnson resisted arrest, closing the door in Sergeant Walker's finger and kicking him. Johnson was eventually subdued, medically cleared, and transported to jail. So, they did find that he violated Department Policy 4.40 regarding body-worn camera usage. The supervisor recommended verbal counseling for this violation, which generally in the chain of discipline, depending on your CBA, your contractual bargaining agreement, policies, procedures, generally that's the first step. If you've never had a violation like that prior, or it's been an extended period of time since you've had a violation like that, generally verbal counseling is the first. The incident was reviewed by multiple levels of command, including team, sergeant, or immediate supervisor, shift or unit commander, division commander, and chief of police. All reviewing officers approved the report and recommendations. And so the final disposition, the chief of police signed off on the report on September 23rd, 2024, indicating that all ordered activities were completed. So you, again, take it for what you want. I appreciate the viewer sending this in. Again, if you see something that I'm not seeing, feel free to leave the comments below. I'm not seeing very much into this as far as any police brutality or anything of that nature. Again, would have liked to seen Sergeant Walker not grab his throat, but it didn't happen very long. Sort of reactionary. I imagine getting your door or your hand slammed in a door would cause all sorts of violent reactions. So maybe it was restrained after all, if you throw everything into it. But I think, again, I thank the viewer for electing and wanting me to review this. Hopefully I did it justice. Again, feel free to leave comments below if you disagree with anything. So I think that this will conclude our review of the Christopher Johnson incident here with the Elyria Police Department. We'll probably come back last segment, maybe wrap things up for this episode. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up another thrilling episode of the Tentacles of Cuyahoga County. And as we close out episode 30, let's take a moment to savor the latest developments and our favorite legal circus. So hold on to your seats, because this roller coaster is starting up again on Wednesday. And boy, oh boy, has the judge been busy swatting down defense motions like flies at a summer picnic. Garrity, denied. Hindsight, denied. Trying to kick out Robert D. Simone as an expert witness? Nice try, but that's a big fat denial too. So tune in next time when we'll undoubtedly have more legal shenanigans, courtroom drama, and enough denied motions to wallpaper the entire courthouse. Until then, keep your courtroom drama to a minimum and your popcorn ready. See you next week, Tentacle Nation.